2025 meeting of the San Mateo County Board of Education will come to order. As is our practice, this meeting will be recorded. I warmly welcome, I don't know, is Bethany coming tonight? Okay, welcome Bethany when she comes. Superintendent McGee will be joining us remotely this evening. The board provides remote access for members of the public and welcomes community members joining in person and remotely. The board is following the requirements of Assembly Bill AB 2449, which enables remote participation by board members only under specific circumstances. We use simultaneous interpretation in Spanish for those attending virtually through the end of public comment. Translation will continue further into the meeting if people are utilizing the channel. Thank you to our interpreters, Ana Cruz and Kimberly Larios, for joining us remotely. For meeting attendees wishing to access the Spanish translation channel on Zoom, please click on the interpretation button on the menu bar. We ask all speakers to be mindful of the Spanish interpretation and speak slowly and clearly. I ask board members to speak directly into the microphone and remind speakers wearing masks to remove their masks when speaking in order to be clearly heard by all attendees. Welcome, Bethany. Item 1B is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. There is a motion to approve the agenda made by trustee Gerard and a second by trustee Alvaro. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The motion passes with a vote of 5-0, and the agenda for tonight's meeting has been approved. Item 2 is public comment. Guidelines for public comment are available on the SMCOE website and in board docs, as well as on the table outside the boardroom in both English and Spanish. If there are speakers who require Spanish interpretation, our interpreters, Ms. Cruz and Ms. Larios, will interpret following each speaker's comments. At this time, members of the public may provide comment for topics not included on the approved agenda. The County Board of Education does not act upon any matter that has not been agendized, except under limited circumstances as permitted by law. It is the policy of the County Board to refer matters raised in this forum to the superintendent for investigation and/or action where appropriate. Superintendent McGee, do we have any comments submitted prior to the meeting?
We did not.
Okay. Speakers are invited to make live comment and have 3 minutes to speak. The board's executive assistant, Jennifer Perna, will keep the time and advise when the speaker has 30 seconds left. Please keep within the time limits. To make a comment over Zoom, members of the public may use the raise hand feature. Instructions for using this feature are provided as an attachment in the board packet. Once the hand is raised, please wait to be acknowledged by Superintendent McGee. Superintendent McGee, are there any members of the public attending remotely who wish to make a comment at this time?
I'm not seeing any hands. Oh, yes, there is one hand raised. Mina Richardson, and I'm going to allow her to talk. So Mina, you can begin.
I wanted to speak on the item, please. Item 9. Can I wait till then?
Yes, you would wait until item 9. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That's all.
Are there any other comments?
I don't see any other hands raised.
Thank you. Members of the public may also provide live comment in person. Superintendent McGee, are there any submitted cards?
We do have one card, John Hoffman, who wishes to speak about CTE. So Mr. Hoffman, you can approach the podium.
Board members, you may be unaware that there is a deficit at each level of education, the schools, the districts, and the County Board of Education when it comes to technical education. And I am speaking of hands-on. There is a significant need in industry for people who are able to do technical work, and the pipeline is nearly empty. The skills that young people graduate with are generally insufficient in order to meet the threshold for employment. And there is a lot of training required by the employers in order to bring those students up to a standard where they are productive. I am asking that you take a very close look at the CTE program at the county level, and that more emphasis be placed on where the rubber meets the road. By that, I mean not only job fairs and introductions and the like, but actually calling up employers, local employers, seeing what their need is, and then seeking to fulfill that need so that the students and employers are put together physically. They have a chance to speak, and the students may have a chance for an internship or something of that nature where they get some real life experience and can determine whether they might want to pursue a particular course in hands-on work. So I make that plea to you. If you look back at the, I think it's the 2013, 2014 grand jury, and also the 22-23 grand jury recommendations, take a look at how many of those have been implemented by the district, by the county district, County Board of Education, and also take a look at what can be done in addition that has not been yet fulfilled. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other submitted cards?
No, no other cards.
Thank you. A public comment addressing a specific agenda item will be heard after the board's questions, comments, and discussion on the item. If members of the public wish to speak to a specific agenda item, then please use the raise hand feature when the item is announced, or if in person, submit a card in advance of the item. Item 3A is the February 2025 Employee of the Month, Ernesto Lomeli Rodriguez, Senior Credentials Analyst, Human Resources, Office of the Superintendent. Will Ernesto please join me in the middle of the room? So each month, the board and the superintendent recognize an employee for providing outstanding service. For the month of February, we recognize Ernesto Lomeli Rodriguez, Senior Credentials Analyst, Human Resources, Office of the Superintendent. Ernesto joined the county office in August of 2023 as a credentials analyst and was promoted to his current position of Senior Credentials Analyst less than 1 year later in June of 2024. His success is a testament to his exemplary work ethic, his dedication to supporting school districts, and his expertise and unwavering commitment to excellence. So Ernesto has thrived in overseeing credentialing services to ensure certified personnel hold valid and appropriate credentials. His proactive approach in establishing and maintaining timelines has greatly improved compliance with state and local regulations. Ernesto provides critical consultation and support to administrators, certificated staff, and applicants. He is highly regarded for his ability to interpret complex credentialing requirements and guide stakeholders effectively, ensuring proper placement and compliance for certificated staff. As a principal of a school, it's a huge role and task to take on, so I acknowledge that. Ernesto has also demonstrated exceptional leadership by training and guiding the incoming credentials analyst in credentialing processes. His ability to inspire and lead his small team has resulted in a cohesive and productive work environment. Ernesto is an active participant in the Credentials Networking Subcommittee and stays up to date with evolving credentialing laws, policies, and procedures, which are constantly changing. I know that's not easy. His participation underscores a deep dedication to continuous learning and growth. He has positioned the Human Resources Department as a trusted resource for school districts, and his contributions have elevated the department as a trusted resource for school districts. My apologies, have elevated the department and provided invaluable support to the school districts, charter schools, and private schools that we serve here in San Mateo County. We are proud of our County Office of Education staff and are pleased to recognize Ernesto Lomeli Rodriguez for his outstanding work. Congratulations to Ernesto for being named Employee of the Month for February 2025.
Good evening, everyone. Just wanted to start off by saying thank you so much for this recognition. I feel like us at SMCOE, we primarily work in the back end, and when we're not really working with students, it's really nice to see that your work is really having an impact. So I really do appreciate this recognition. But yeah, I started a year and a half ago here, and I really didn't know what I was getting into. I'll be honest. I was coming from a completely different background from education, but I think just having a great team to work with, great people around you, and really enjoying the work that you do really makes a difference. So again, just thank you so much, and I really, really appreciate the recognition. Thank you.
Okay, just in time. For item 4A, Superintendent McGee will begin the recognition honoring former board member Hector Camacho Jr. Superintendent McGee.
Thank you, Board President Torres. I am getting things lined up here. Let's see, need to get rid of that. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, we're good?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I want to begin just by saying I'm so sorry not to be present in person for this. I certainly want to be in the mix of all the board and county superintendent business, but tonight recognizing former board member Hector Camacho is a special honor. I put together a very brief PowerPoint, as I tend to do, just to kind of capture my talking points. I begin with this photo of the most recent time that we were all together, staff and board members at the California School Boards Association back in December when we were down in Anaheim. And we had a really lovely dinner together with all the staff that went to the conference, as well as the board members who attended, President Torres, board member Bonini, and board member Camacho. Because board member Camacho is familiar with the Anaheim area, I asked him for some suggestions about where we might be a good place to get together, and he recommended this restaurant called En Familia. So that's where we ended up. It was an excellent recommendation. So I have to add good restaurant recommendations to his resume here. But really, the focus of this is just about the family spirit that Hector carries around with him in every way he lives his life. I thought that it was actually kind of a striking metaphor for who he is as a human being and how he navigates through the world. Hector, if you know him at all, you know that family is first, and it's not just his own, partner and children, but he has a large extended family for whom he's deeply dedicated. I know he spends a lot of time honoring and living within the Camacho family. If you've been around long enough, again, you've heard Hector talk about his father, who worked in the South San Francisco Unified School District in the classified service, and the ways in which his work was so honorable. And he translates that to every education worker in the field. When you see Hector around his boys, it's very inspiring and heartwarming. I know many of us who've sat at the table with the Camacho family can appreciate the ways in which Hector's sons look up to and admire him, how they really lean into and listen to every word of the conversation. And you know that that leads to further conversations outside of the dinner table as the kids process the world around them and try to understand. But they have the most wonderful teacher in life as their father. You can't help but see this. It's just right in front of you, and I just wanted to acknowledge that aspect of who Hector is. As we know, he carries that spirit with him to his board service. Again, I went through many of the past year's minutes that I could access, and recognizing how often Hector acknowledges, appreciates, and calls out different educators within SMCOE, but also all of the employees at SMCOE for the important work they do, regardless of their role. He pays attention. He learns and gets to know people's names. He learns their stories. And I think our staff feel this appreciation and respect that Hector carries for our one SMCOE family. You couldn't talk about Hector without acknowledging his passionate and honestly unrelenting advocacy for every single student. He makes no categories. Every single student, every child that's in our school system deserves the most excellent opportunities, access, and education, because he recognizes that in each child is a world of promise and talent. I guess I should mention at this point that Hector comes to his board service as a lifelong educator. So in that aspect of our careers, he and I share that. He started as a teacher, went into the counseling field, went into administration, has been a director of a counseling office, director of equity in a school, and then ultimately moved on to the university system, Reach University, which has the noble mission of expanding the education career to all those who may want to lean in and pursue that as their career. I know he accomplished so much working for Reach, and that is really a university that's changing the system to accomplish exactly what Hector strives to do, which is to provide every single student with the most excellent education that's possible. And it all begins with the educators that surround them. Of course, as part of the board service, you get to acknowledge and celebrate all of our student successes. These are wonderful nights when we bring in our volunteers and award winners. Hector's had probably been in 100 different photos with groups of successful, thriving students. And it's really, that's the fun part of the job, is to really celebrate and honor everything that our kids are doing in their classrooms, supported by quality educators. So Hector began his board service in 2014. He went through an appointment process, much like is going to be happening here at the county board in the next few weeks. And again, I can't tell you the number of times that Hector's fellow board members have mentioned that appointment interview where his ability to articulate his passion, his ability to speak about his vision for what education should be, just kind of blew the board away. And it said with, kind of laughter and chuckles that Hector kind of had the appointment won within like the first 2 minutes. He so far exceeded the ability to articulate this, his ideas, that he was selected as the board for that board vacancy at that time. Of course, over time, he's had to run for reelection multiple times, been reelected multiple times. He's now leaving behind the board service, will count 2025, since his last board meeting was in January, which makes it 11 years of service. So it's a significant amount of time. Over all those years, it would be really hard to capture everything that Hector accomplished and how he moved things forward. But I did try to capture some key accomplishments. One being that obviously Hector served during the COVID years. He served as board president for 3 of those years, 2020, 2021, and 2022. Which provided such support to the county superintendent and the county office staff, going through one of the hardest things that our world has really experienced in centuries. And it really did require that level of support. So Hector was there, present through all of that. He really pushed for greater community access to board meetings. Always supported the hybrid format, so the county board continues to hold its meetings with a hybrid option. And then also talked about how we shouldn't just have translators on a given night when a member of the public who is speaking a language other than English may need interpretation, but that it should be a regular and common practice for the county office. And that has been the case for the last, 4 or 5 years. In those 3 years that Hector served as board president, he made it clear to me that he felt our joint appearances at events and conferences was an important statement about who we are at the County Office of Education and our partnerships. So we have presented together for Leadership Council. We've presented together at the Progress Seminar. There have been other events and trainings that we have stood side by side, working together, county board president and county superintendent. Thought that was a really powerful aspect to the county office that Hector brought. He is and has been an active advocate for environmental literacy, pushing the county to really examine their investment policies, to look at making sure that they're not investing in fossil fuel companies. And as a result of partly of his advocacy, the county has moved away largely from those kinds of investments. But he's also worked with, at the time, board president, supervisor board president Dave Pine on his environmental priorities. Of course, I've spoken about how Hector has been dedicated to expanding workforce pathways. He's a dedicated advocate for youth mental health. And probably at the top of the list is his unending efforts to build equitable policies and practices, knowing that equity doesn't just happen by accident. You actually have to build it into your policies and to your regulations so that it becomes an expected behavior. going back prior to my board or my county superintendency, the county office held in partnership with the board multiple years of Zap the Gap events to build greater understanding of how the education system underserves some student groups. The picture here on the slide is Hector speaking at a Zap the Gap event as a member of a panel. So he was an active member. And then, of course, over 11 years, he's served in many subcommittee capacities, and many of them as chair. And I think at one point he was the butt of many board jokes about what subcommittee Hector wasn't on for a time. So he definitely fulfilled the expectations we hold for board members. Outside the board service, Hector is very busy in the community. Community is his heart. Most recently, was able to travel to Sacramento last year to cheer Hector on as he received the James Irvine Foundation Leadership Award for his work with Reach University. He's a co-founder of the Reach Coalition in San Mateo County, which is a group of elected leaders of color who ensure that all voices are equally represented and heard. He's currently serving as a Ravenswood Education Foundation board member. He serves on the South San Francisco Library Board. In past years, he's served as president of the San Mateo County School Boards Association. He's a member of the Stanford Graduate School of Education Inclusion Council and has added value to the College of San Mateo Project Change Advisory Council. We all know that Hector is not just an advocate or a supporter of outdoor education. He's actually a fanatic of outdoor ed. And I think if you gave him the opportunity to go be a cabin leader on any given day, he'd take you up on it. I know that he grew up attending outdoor ed and serving as a cabin leader, was thrilled when his own kids were able to go, as I recall, during one of our large storms. But I think his support for outdoor education has been significant and full of joy. I'll end with the fact that we're giving Hector a plaque tonight that has a couple of photos on it with an engraved quote. I know that Bell Hooks is one of Hector's mentors and inspirational leaders. We used to quote, "The true teacher is within us," because I do think that it deftly and concisely describes who Hector is. His board service is rooted in love, and you can feel it when you're with him. You can feel it when you're working in partnership. And we're really going to miss Hector. There's no way to replace him. It will just be another style of leader that will come in. But we're so happy that he's joined the County Office of Education staff, and we can really dig into his talents and skills on the operational side. He's already showing great value in his role. And with that, I'll end my comments, but I can leave this screen up for a little bit as we move to the next item.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak at this time?
I do know that I think Dave Baruto, you're in the audience. Did you want to make any comments?
If now is the appropriate time, yes.
There we go.
Well, Board, Mr. President, very nice to be here today to honor your now departed board member, who coincidentally is also a personal friend. I will try to make this brief, my friend, because I know that you don't particularly care for this, but so I will be expeditious. I'm here tonight representing Assemblymember Diane Pappen, District Director David Baruto, as well as State Senator Josh Becker, to honor your years of service to San Mateo County and this board. The superintendent really, I think, encapsulated your career, but also your advocacy, your passion for public education, and the social justice and the opportunities that flow from that, and how you've tried to really drive that change into the systems to get those outcomes. I know you're really passionate about this. We've really appreciated all of your work over these many years. And it is a sacrifice. I know how much time this takes away from a family. I see Christy on the attendee list. So hi, Christy, how are you? But I'm just very pleased to be here to represent your legislators so that we could help recognize your service and really thank you for that. Because it's been, 11 years is a long time. So thank you for doing that. And I'd like to give you a little wall hanger if you'd like to accept it. I'd appreciate it.
Thank you. The county board and county superintendent are honoring former board member Camacho with a resolution emphasizing our appreciation for his service. Our resolution describes Hector as a strong advocate for high-quality, inclusive education for all students. He brought his deep commitment to equity to every county board meeting, ensuring discussions and actions aligned with the county office's vision of excellence and equity in education. For item 4B, is there a motion to approve the resolution number 259 honoring Hector Camacho Jr. for his service to the San Mateo County Board of Education?
So moved.
Is there a second? Thank you. Would board members like to make comments? Ms. Alvaro?
Thank you. Oh, Hector. I don't have to call you Mr. Camacho anymore unless we're in a formal meeting and you're presenting, but I love that picture where we were cutting the ribbon for the early childhood playground and you brought your boys. I can remember they were ever that small. I'm looking down at him and your kids are amazing. And as Superintendent McGee said, that's really a reflection of you and Christy. I know what it means to be a parent, and the kids don't just magically turn out great. Your kids are great. I'm sure they have their moments. They're kids. But it's been such an honor to work with you. And it's hard to say past tense because we'll continue to work together. But to sit next to you and work with you, I've learned so much from you, which sounds kind of funny because we were a generation apart and I've been on the board thousands of years longer than you. But that doesn't mean I didn't learn a lot from you. And I think I will continue to learn a lot from you as we move forward. You are so focused and rooted in community and serving all of the kids that in our county, in our state, whatever, but serving all the kids. And there's demographics, and we have to be careful of, equity. We know what that means. It's not about being equal. It's about being equitable. But you look at all of them, and it's not only refreshing, it's exactly what needs to be done. And so I really want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for serving on our board for 11 years and coming forward and applying for the position, because yeah, it's true. When we did the interviews, it was like, that one's okay, that one's okay, I want that one. Because you spoke with truth. You spoke with passion. You spoke about why you care, not just sort of like, well, this is a job, but like why you care. And that spoke to us because that's what we needed on the board. So thank you so much for everything. And, good luck in your new job. We know where to find you.
Gerard? Ms. Gerard?
Thank you. I've already given Hector quite a long speech, and I won't repeat it. all because I know he has a plane to catch. And he's sitting there going, oh, please be quiet so I can get out of here. But I have to say publicly that it is such an honor to have worked with you over the last 11 years. And I, like Ms. Alvaro, have learned so much from you. And one of the things I really learned was how meticulous you were about every single subject we were looking at or discussing or thinking about, because you really processed it all. And I think you always brought up things that some of us said, oh, gee, I didn't think of that. But you're amazing, amazing person, just all over. And you have an amazing, amazing family. I have enjoyed meeting them and spending time with them so much. And I'm glad that you'll be here in the county office, so we'll get to see you. But your shoes are too big to fill. They will be with a different style, I'm sure. But you are so unique and so wonderful and so special that I'm just going to miss you so much. Thank you.
Trustee Love.
Thank you. So Hector, I joined the board and you leave the board. I leave the superintendent's office and you join the superintendent's office, and I'm not taking it personally. I just want to thank you for always being sort of wise and a mentor. And I would not have run for this position, as you know, if I hadn't spoken to you before I did. You were one of the couple people that I spoke to before I decided to throw my hat in. And you are very, you weren't endorsing, but you just were a good thought partner and gave me a lot of good thoughts. So I'm very grateful for that. And enjoy Sisk, and we will hopefully cross paths a lot, but thank you for everything.
Trustee Bonini.
I'll do my best. Sorry, my voice is not what it usually is. Hector, you're such a special person. It's been my honor really to serve with you for the time I've been here and been able to learn from you, as everyone else has said, just get into your brain and how you're processing the equity issues, just everything that we need to be focusing on, the outcomes for students and all the pieces that have to do with data and all different things that it's hard to bring that all together, but you always do. And you have the best questions. And, it's one of those things where we do have an amazing board where, if you kind of sit back and listen to everyone's questions, by the time, if you take some time, most of them will have been asked. And it's such a good collaboration. And you're a huge part of that in my experience over the last 4 years. And so I will miss you deeply. I know you're here, but it's not quite the same. But I know we know where to find you, and I know you'll do wonderful things, and our paths will cross many, many, many times. But I will miss you sitting here with us, making really important decisions and focusing on how we're serving our kids in our programs for the county, which are, as you know, very, very special and unique. So thank you so much for your service.
Bethany.
I just want to second everything that's already been said. I think that you really are just such a remarkable person, and you really will be missed. Like when I sat down here, I looked over there and I was like, wait, why isn't Hector in his normal seat? So it's definitely not going to be the same here at the board meetings without you. It's been such a privilege to get to know you just over the past year. I remember when I first connected with you on LinkedIn, I was like, wow, he's doing a lot of cool stuff. But what really stands out to me is not just what a capable person you are of getting the things that you want to get done, but also just your energy, like the kindness you bring into every single room. And you really will be missed for your wisdom and your welcoming spirit. But I'm happy you're not going too far.
Thank you. I will say dinner with the Camacho should be on everyone's bucket list item. It's such a beautiful family and such beautiful conversations with everyone. And those boys are a true reflection of both of your work. So I am going to miss sitting next to you when I sat next to you. There was a lot of observing that I did, and I knew when a good question was coming because you had this thinking face that you would do, and I'm like, oh, I'm ready. Oh, you guys know which one I'm talking about. Yeah. And that would inspire me to think more and just expand as I was learning my role in this seat. You were a big part of that, and I truly valued everything you brought to all of the conversations. And yeah, we're going to miss you, and it's going to be different, but we're glad you're still here. So thank you. There was a motion to approve resolution number 259 made by trustee Gerard and a second by trustee Alvaro. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The motion passes with a vote of 5-0, and resolution number 25-9 has been approved. For item 4C, the board will now take a brief recess to celebrate former board member Hector Camacho Jr. We will resume the meeting at 8 p.m. We are coming back a few minutes early since our guest of honor has gone to catch a flight. For item 5A, is there a motion to approve the minutes of the January 29, 2025 Governance Workshop regular board meeting as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
There is a motion to approve the minutes of the January 29, 2025 Governance Workshop regular board meeting made by trustee Alvaro and a second by trustee Gerard. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The motion passes with a vote of 5-0, and the minutes of the January 29, 2025 Governance Workshop regular board meeting have been approved. For item 5B, is there a motion to approve the minutes of the February 5th, 2025 regular board meeting as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
There is a motion to approve the minutes of the February 5th, 2025 regular board meeting made by trustee Gerard and a second by trustee Love. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say no. The motion passes with a vote of 5-0, and the minutes of the February 5th, 2025 regular board meeting have been approved. Item 6 is the consent agenda. The consent agenda is not debatable and requires a unanimous vote for passage. An item may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular order of business for separate discussion and action if any board member or any member of the board, the superintendent, or the public so requests. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion to approve the consent agenda made by trustee Alvaro and a second by trustee Gerard. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say no. The motion passes with a vote of 5-0, and the consent agenda has been approved. For item 7A, Manette Maneo, Executive Director, Internal Business Services, will present the Local Control and Accountability Plan, our LCAP, for the mid-year budget. Executive Director Maneo.
Thank you. Good evening, Board President Torres, members of the board, and Superintendent McGee. I'm here tonight to present the LCAP, or our Local Control Accountability Plan mid-year budget. So this is to supplement the presentation that Sarah Notch made last February 5th. And as opposed to her presenting based on metrics, I'm going to be presenting based now on budget. So it'll be around numbers. So just to have a couple of notes, the mid-year budget, we are comparing budgeted expenditures, which are from original adopted budget that we presented last June. And the actual expenditures are as of December 31st, 2024. So just to get that background. So I'm gonna be just going over, the 4 goals that we have in our LCAP. So goal 1 is emphasizing, enhancing and improving subject matter preparation, instructional support for our students identified as English learners, our students with disabilities, promise youth through the use of individualized, targeted, and evidence-based interventions for our Hillcrest Gateway Community Schools. So for our goal 1, our budgeted expenditures were at a little under 2.5 million. As of December 31, 2024, we are at $1,041,763. And then I added some highlighted actions under goal 1, specifically highlighting the enhanced academic intervention and support,
as well as the individual learning plan monitoring. So the costs associated with this goal are mostly around certificated salaries and staff that are in our court and community schools. So for our goal 1 updates and next steps, there has been staffing reassignments at the beginning of the semester to cover staff who left and also reassignment of duties based on identified needs. There will also be a curriculum adoption coming in semester 2 in the spring. Those are coming. I'll move forward with goal 2. Goal 2 is centered around cultivating supportive, inclusive, positive school climate environment that promotes social and emotional well-being of all students through positive behavioral intervention supports, or PBIS. So under goal 2, our budgeted expenditures were a little under 600,000, and actuals as of December 31 is 330,907. So we have done a couple of PBIS activities. We are also gearing about collecting data based on those activities and also plan to do study cycles to identify need and additional supports. We're also building capacity for teachers and staff to support SEL and PBIS skills building, which will be measured by staff surveys. So next steps would be, so for this, we are expecting that our actuals will exceed planned expenditures, and we are actually working together with program leaders to review those expenditures, and we will make adjustments when we present the annual update. Moving on to goal 3. So that is focused on enhancing career technical education opportunities by implementing strategies, initiatives, and including development of CTE pathways, A to G course alignment, work experience opportunities, and expansion of community partnerships. So under goal 3, we are at budgeted expenditures were 211,788, and actuals are at $74,043. So highlighted actions that we wanted to mention is we've made a lot of facility enhancements to upgrade our facility and furniture for collaborative learning environments, and also we built capacity through for our staff in CTE literacy, methods, and certification. So under this goal, our expenditures are actually expected to be less because we were able to utilize grant monies to cover cost of facility enhancements. And last but not least is goal 4. So this is around improving advisory and technical assistance support for credit accrual, credit recovery, and improving graduation rates for including our expelled students, foster youth, and all school programs across San Mateo County. So under goal 4, our budgeted expenditures were $33,795. As of December 31st, we were at $16,896. And some of the actions that has been done and still ongoing are, supporting utilizing evidence-based practices that result in increased graduation rates, supporting students in the enhancement of flexible scheduling and connections to community partners for professional development, for so that students can meet their post-secondary education, training, and employment goals. So under goal 4, our expenditure are expected to materialize as planned, with a number of planned activities that are going to be materializing in the spring. So in closing, we just want to emphasize that we in the business department are working closely as partners with our school programs in monitoring and in helping them implement the plans of the LCAP. And we are going to be working with them closely in providing the annual updates. So we'll be back sometime in June, and also in the presentation for you for drafting the next LCAP cycle. That concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to entertain questions.
Are there any comments or questions from the board? Trustee Alvaro?
Thank you, Minette. You're always so clear and easy to understand. So my question is more of just a crystal ball. On a couple of things you said, this is probably going to exceed our budget, or this is going to come in under the budget, and here's why. On goal 1, you mentioned some staffing reassignments and curriculum adoption. Does it appear that we're going to pretty much stay on budget, which we've spent about half of it right now, a little under half?
I believe we will be on target under at least goal 1 because of there were a couple of staffing that have, at least I know one that have left the program, and I believe that's not filled. And administrators or program managers are stepping in to fulfill that gap. So there is no additional cost as opposed to. So I think if we're not going to meet, we're kind of expecting or anticipating that at least under goal 1 will be on track.
So
As
it
far
feels,
as expenses, yes.
thank you. So it feels as though with the one that's looking to go over and the ones that are looking like they might go under, we might come out just about even for the whole thing.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much.
And may I insert that Chris Schaus has comments to add to answer that question. So Chris, you're unmuted or able to talk.
Sounds good. And apologies for not being able to be there. I'm still working through recovery myself as well. A couple of pieces just to kind of give a clearer view of that as well. I do also expect that that's going to come in under. So similar to what Minette said in regards to the staffing piece of the reassignment, if you recall, we actually didn't dilute the number of staff that we had, even though Kemp as a program collapsed. So we stayed at the same staffing level, which we've had a commitment to do. But we did get a resignation. So impact to site wasn't necessarily there, but that is going to be seen in a shortage of what we budgeted because we didn't do that reduction prior to the reduction of the staff and the resignation of the staff. The other piece that I'm anticipating is that based on the restricted dollars for lottery, it's very possible that the curriculum adoptions can be held by lottery funds, which would allow a piece of goal 1 to also still hit the actions and the metrics, but not exceed. So this is very much so a conservative budget of budgeting for a worst case scenario and then understanding that we may have one-time monies or other budget areas that we can pull from that would be appropriate to the source like lottery or others.
Thank you for that, Chris.
Sure.
Other comments or questions? Trustee Lev?
This might not be something you can answer, but is there any possibility that the program will be impacted by federal cuts? Or if there are federal cuts, what would the impact be on the program? Like, what's the share of revenue that would come from the federal government?
I believe as of right now, we do not see that we will be impacted. There are no programs or that are coming from the federal in support of our court and community schools.
Well, if I could just add, the timing of the federal budget is such that we really wouldn't see an impact if something were to happen really into the 26-27 year. And we are hearing that Title I and the titles are pretty solid at this point. So we're monitoring it, but it doesn't impact directly the LCAP or the goals that we've established through the LCAP.
Any other comments or questions? Are there any comments from the public?
No comments.
Okay, my questions were asked. Thank you. There is no action to take on this item.
Thank you.
For item 8A, we have superintendent's comments. Superintendent McGee, do you have any comments to share?
I have just a few brief comments. First of all, this week is the kind of the midwinter break in San Mateo County. So the majority of our schools are out on vacation, including all of our school programs. So I'm hoping that all of our staff are getting much needed family time and restorative time this week, and they'll be back in service starting on Monday. I wanted to acknowledge the Partnerships in Education event that took place last Thursday at the San Bruno Community Center under the leadership of Ruby McCarraegg and Mary McGrath. It was, there were about 230 folks who attended, many nonprofit and community partners. A lot of cultural wealth was shared across the day, and the focus was on ways in which partnerships and community organizations can use the United for Youth Vision 2030 document to help guide them forward in their service of supporting the mental health of our young people. So a successful event, and just wanted to call out Ruby and Mary for all of their work. A couple other things. We have a large contingent of SMCOE leaders down in Anaheim this week attending the CISC conference. It is the Curriculum and Instruction Steering Committee of the California County Superintendents. So it's a statewide conference for all of the county offices. Our team is down there both enjoying and learning at the conference, but also shadowing the behind the scenes operations of the conference, because next year our curriculum and instruction team will be responsible and lead that conference for the state. So it's a big honor that we received this opportunity to lead in this space for next year. And so our team is down there getting ready for what they will provide for the state for all of our county office partners next year. And then in that same vein, I wanted to share that, I'm looking for my notes on this one, that we submitted a bid with the California PBIS, or Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports Coalition, to become the regional PBIS Technical Assistance Center. So in this bid, it means that our team in San Mateo would lead Region 5 across the Bay Area in their PBIS work. It's a competitive process, and we learned last week that the California PBIS leadership team identified 2 county offices as finalists, one of which is ours. So we were really thrilled that we're one of 2 finalists. I'm coming in early with the news before they actually identify who will be named, but just being named a finalist, really one of 2, is quite a feat. especially for our small team. But we've been really digging deep into this leadership work under the leadership of Coordinator Greg Fox. No, Coordinator Greg Fry. I called him Mr. Fox one day as a joke, and now nobody can go back to calling him his right name. Under Coordinator Greg Fry. So what will happen next is that we will participate in a team interview with the leadership team at the state. And after that interview with both of the finalists, they will name who moves forward. So we're hopeful, but we're also proud of what we've accomplished in that space. And then finally, wishing Deputy Superintendent Marco Chavez a very, very happy birthday tomorrow, February 20th. And he's leading the team down in Anaheim. So hopefully they'll find something fun to do after hours to celebrate Marco's birthday. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you, Superintendent McGee. For item 9A, the board will discuss and act on the logistics of the board appointment process for the San Mateo County Board of Education vacancy in Trustee Area 3. Superintendent McGee?
Thank you. The last time that the board did an appointment, which wasn't that long ago, you engaged in a really productive conversation about how you wanted the interviews to look and feel. So you came up with a set of guidelines for those interviews, and we got them out and included them in your board packet for you to review tonight and discuss. And then for those items that are still relevant for this go round in your vacancy appointment process, you can take action to determine that will be the format. So I think it would be probably helpful to go to that item in the board packet so you can look specifically at each of the items. Perhaps President Torres, you can start the discussion off with what is first on that list.
Yes, what's listed first is that we will interview 3 candidates as individuals. We will request that the candidates remain outside during those interviews. And then we will interview all 3 individually using the same questions. Candidates will hear the questions for the first time during the interview, which is why we will have the other members step outside. And then the board will have the opportunity to ask any follow-up questions. And then the order of the candidates is randomly selected. And then from there, everyone comes back, and then the board has a conversation and discusses their top candidates until there is a minimum of 4 votes, which was the process done for me. I think it was 5 candidates when I did it. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I
right,
think it-
5?
I think it was, yeah.
Trustee Alvaro?
I just had a question. The process looks fine and that we've done it this way before. The questions. In the past, the board president worked together with probably the vice president to come up with the list of questions. And I'm wondering if you're already working on that or who's doing it?
Are we able to get the questions that were used last time to review those?
Yes, President Torres, we have I received the questions today that you used last time. So I can forward them to the president and the vice president, and we can work on them, or you can work on them and get them back to me. Or I'm happy to provide my support if you want that. And or I can forward the questions to the full board and you can take input from everybody, however the board would like to do that.
I think if it's sent to everyone, just so that we can get input from everyone and making sure that the final questions are all something we are happy with.
Okay,
That
I
sounds
will
good.
send those out tomorrow.
Okay. Trustee Love?
I just had a question about that. Does the board want to think and discuss as a group sort of what we're looking for in that position? Like, is representing the community important? Is experience? Is there helping build our culture here important? Is there any sort of general consensus thoughts that we have? I spoke with somebody, Hector, earlier, and he recommended that we do that, so.
Yes, Trustee Alvaro?
Thank you. The one thing we have to be cautious of is that all that has to be done in public, which means that all of the candidates will be hearing all of the, if they're paying attention, will be hearing all of the questions in advance. And we do try not to do that and just have them hear the questions cold so that we get a more honest response. So I just want to be a little careful about that.
I was just referring to just if there were themes, not necessarily the questions. Thanks.
Trustee Benini?
I don't remember doing that last time.
We didn't.
And also I feel like we probably would have some consensus on what we would like a board member to be and have, and I think that will come out in the discussions, but I don't necessarily feel the need to do that before the interviews.
Yeah, I think the themes would come up in the questions. So if we review the questions and we feel like it's missing a theme, we can add it in there. Yeah.
Oh, and I also appreciate being able to review the questions. Thank you for suggesting that so that we can have input, if any.
Any other points to discuss?
May I raise one question?
Yes.
The parameters look good, but is everybody okay with limiting your interviews to 3? You do have, I'm not sure how many you'll narrow down tonight, but 9 applications to start with. So last time you had fewer, and I just think it's worth having a brief discussion if you wanted to expand that at all, or you're good with the 3.
Trustee Benini?
I think that, thank you for that point, Superintendent McGee. I think that when we go with the next item and we discuss, it may turn out that we might have more than 3, and with 9 candidates, I think that would be not unlikely. So I wouldn't want to limit it, but I do see the benefit of being focused as much as we can from the outset as well. So I hope it's not more than, personally, like 4 or 5, but you know.
Yes. Bethany?
I think 4 or 5 is a reasonable number, and I feel like that is a really great number because it would allow us to get to know these people more, because I feel like some things about a person just don't come across with something written. And I think that being able to meet these people in person and hear live, like what their experiences are, what they like to do, what sort of person they are, that'd be really helpful. But I also see like we shouldn't interview like all of them or anything, but I think 4 or 5 is very reasonable.
Trustee Gerard?
I was just going to say, what we did last time was go through and each of us gave our top 3 or 4 names. And that was how we came to a consensus of who we would interview. So I think probably that's a good process to do tonight, because I don't know if they'll be similar, but they could be. So anyway.
I
So
agree.
maybe when you take action, you name it that it would be 5 or fewer, something like that. Establish a higher number and say this number or less in your
Well,
action.
I think we should review them first and see how many we have. We may not have that many that we feel we want to interview.
Right, I know,
Can
but
be.
if you say 5 or fewer, then you can establish a lesser number. But this item is an action item.
just on the process.
Yeah, so you're going to take action on agreeing on the process. So I'm just trying to think about a way that it can be flexible with the number where you still take action.
Trustee Benini?
My question would be for the board, do we need to state the number in our procedure? Or can we just say we will, you know, come to a consensus on who we want to interview? It's unlikely that we will want to interview everyone, I think. I don't know that we need to state an actual number.
Yeah,
But
that's
we should
another
say-
that's another way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, that we could say, you know, we may not interview all candidates, and we will determine which candidates we will interview in our process.
Yes, I like that. Trustee Alvaro?
Thank you. I like that. I like that too. My tentative suggestion is that we start out by each, you know, doing kind of straw poll idea, that we each talk about our top one, and or top two, but no more than that. Because if we each talk about our top three, first of all, there's going to be overlap. But if we each talk about our top one or two, and then we see, well, maybe there's five, because there's five of us here tonight, right? Maybe there's four, maybe there's three. And then just sort of feel it from there.
Okay. So in terms of the process, other than the number, are we okay with the process? And then
Yeah.
the second, for 9B, that item will be how we choose to review the applicants.
So do we have to vote on the logistics one? It says discuss act.
Yes, so that's on the process first. And I think the only thing we're changing is removing that number. So are there any comments from the public?
We do have one public speaker, Mina Richardson, and Mina, you are free to talk. You would need to unmute.
Thank you. Good evening, board members, Superintendent McGee. The following comments are my own. I am not here representing my board. And my comments are to our members of our community. As was said, I am Mina Richardson, and I am on my second term serving students, parents, and staff in the South San Francisco Unified School District. My comment is on one of the applicants, John Baker. He and I served together. I am in my second term. He had different views, and on many occasions, I am on my, it was during the campaign for our bond measure, I was alerted by community members. He was on social media making disparaging remarks about my stance on the bond. This lasted for months. He used profanity, including the F word, to defame my character. His statements were hurtful and untrue, saying that I was against safe schools as reason why I didn't support the bond, the facilities bond. This behavior was unbecoming of a school board member. I chose not to engage him because legal counsel strongly advised against it. They recommend avoiding Twitter wars to prevent escalating rhetoric with the public and to uphold the school district's reputation. Before he left the board, John Baker supported amending the bylaws to intentionally keep me from becoming president of the board. We went from rotation to organization by election. I never held the presidency. I may never hold the presidency due to his role in changing the bylaws, of which he, however, served as president multiple times along with others. I read his application and I find it ironic that he now sees the high cost of living in this county. This is exactly what I said regarding the passage of the bond, and it's what he socially targeted and attacked me for. It appears he has become empathetic of working families. He may very well have experienced growth since that experience, but I never did receive an apology for his comments. An appointed or elected official should have these 3 leadership traits: integrity, be ethical, and have a moral compass. I can attest he does not display the demeanor I would like to see representing Area 3. Please choose someone who respects women of color and senior citizens. Thank you.
Are there any other comments from the public?
No other comments.
Thank you. Do we have a motion for our process?
So move.
Second.
There is a motion to approve our process made by trustee Gerard and a second by trustee Alvaro. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The motion passes with a vote of 5-0, and the board has voted to move forward with the process for filling the board vacancy. For item 9B, the board will discuss and act on the review of candidate applications to determine who will be invited to interview for the San Mateo County Board of Education vacancy in trustee area 3. Superintendent McGee.
I think the board, needs to discuss a little bit about how they want to go about this. Trustee Alvaro made one recommendation. For my part, I will take notes and keep track of the top candidates that each board member suggests, and then just to keep a record and keep you straight in your discussions. So you
That is
can.
very helpful. Thank you, Superintendent McGee. So do you want to start us off, Ms. Alvaro, trustee Alvaro?
Actually, I wanted to ask a question first. Do we want to simply say my top 2 are X? Or do we want to say is this a time for discussing why the top 2? I just want to put them out there and then have a discussion after we see who falls on the table.
I would say just names first.
Just names
But
first.
that's my opinion. I don't know.
That's kind of what I was thinking, but I wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All good? Okay. Do you want to start us off and then we can,
Sure. You want 2?
whatever your heart tells you.
I see. Okay, so the 2 I'm going to put forward, I have a third if I'm pressed for it, but the 2 I'm going to put forward are Manuel Santamaria and Edith Arias.
Trustee Bonini.
The 2 I would put forward first would be Edith Arias and Marco Durazo.
I have the same 2, Marco and Edith. Trustee Gerard.
And I have Edith Arias and Manuel Santamaria.
Trustee Lev.
Same Edith Arias and Manuel Santamaria.
Bethany.
I
Bethany?
have Marco Durazo and Brian Vander Luch.
Could you
Superintendent
restate
McGee?
that again, Bethany, please? I missed your names.
No problem. My 2 are Marco Durazo and Brian Vander Luch.
Thank you.
So we've narrowed it down to 4 total names. Do we want to stick to those 4 or do we want to keep narrowing down?
Well, I think we had 3 where we had multiple people suggest, and that would be Edith, Manuel, and Marco.
Correct.
So I think those are probably the top 3 that we would want to look at.
Yeah, I agree.
I also agree. Bethany.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Trustee Lev.
I agree.
Are there any comments or questions from the board? Any from the public?
What? I'm sorry.
Oh, any comments from the public?
Let me see. I see no comments.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I'd like to move that we move Edith Arias, Manuel Santa Maria, and Marco Durazo forward to interview.
Second.
Thank you. There is a motion to move forward with the following applicants: Marco Durazo, Edith Arias, Manuel Santamaria, made by trustee Gerard and a second by trustee Alvaro. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The motion passes with a vote of 5-0, and the board has voted to move forward with the following three candidates: Marco Durazo, Edith Arias, and Manuel Santamaria. For item 9C, the board will discuss and act on the draft board governance handbook. Superintendent McGee.
Thank you. The board and the superintendent have been working on the draft governance handbook over the last several months. We made lots of progress on the feedback at the governance workshop. The draft you have in front of you includes all the feedback from the draft governance workshop, and then in sending it out to the board in advance of the meeting, there was additional feedback provided. 95% of that feedback was accepted and included into the draft, and I'm happy to answer any questions if there's something that got missed. And then just to note that if the board, two things. One is that we have all agreed that the governance handbook is a dynamic document, so it can be updated at any point that the board or the superintendent feels it needs that. And also, once the board has approved the draft, it will go through review and formatting by our communications team to be made into a high quality public document that you can use and have available at board meetings.
Are there any comments or questions from the board? Trustee Alvaro?
Thank you. I just want to say I love the fact that there are clickable links to pertinent board bylaws in the meeting processes area. I think that just really makes it clear and makes it easy for anybody who wants to follow up to say, okay, what's the appropriate bylaw? So I really appreciate that part. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments or questions? Trustee Lev?
This is maybe not about the document itself, but it might be nice to have this put into like a one-pager, maybe double-sided, that's laminated and in their folders or something, some of the key things that, so it's really top of mind and present. Otherwise, it's a document that's going to maybe come with us to meetings and maybe not. So it's just a thought.
I like that. So it's visible and not just something that hangs out in the background. Yeah. Any other comments or questions? Trustee Bonini?
So first, I wanted to appreciate the fact that most of my edits that I put forth were included in the final draft. I want to address with the board the topic of our ability to visit the schools. I took the comments that I gave, I took directly from the handbook that we were kind of holding up as our example, which was the Jefferson Union High School District, because they had spent recent time perfecting that. And I feel that even though the changes were accepted and the intent is sort of stated and how important we believe it is to visit the schools, I still feel like there is the likelihood that the ability to actually visit the schools will be hampered by the fact that Superintendent McGee is the sole person listed as, granting permission. That is, it's not stated that way for the districts. It's, professional in terms of the ability to contact the principal. I think in doing so, that would likely also be something that would be including superintendent or superintendent's immediate staff or cabinet in the communication. But I feel that the decision about whether we would be on campus is better left to the principals when they're the ones who are on campus and they know what's going on. And if we say, oh, we would, like to come by on a certain day because we have that day free because many of us work full time, and we may have a certain day that we can be there. It's not going to be different than it is now, which is less than ideal. So I am not satisfied with this provision right now. So I'm putting that out there to see if anyone else has any comments. If the board agrees that it's fine, I'll live with it for now, but I'm not exactly happy with it.
Well, one thing that I haven't done, provide any reason for the decision, and I would like the opportunity to provide that.
Well, would it be possible for the board to chime in before that?
Sure, but I think it's helpful to understand, in the board governance handbook, it does say that the board respects the superintendent and her expertise and wants to hear reasons for things. I haven't provided any reason because I didn't think it would be necessary, but the board can discuss, but I hope I have the opportunity to provide some of my logic.
Yes, I think Trustee Love wanted to add first.
Just looking at that section, first item was contact the county superintendent. And then the next line was ensure the visit is scheduled with county office school program leaders. So perhaps that's one and the same. I just know from my experience that if you reach out to a principal, they're probably going to reach out to the superintendent and say, I've been reached out to by a board member. Should we schedule this? So in a lot of ways, it's just a lot more efficient to go to the superintendent and say, I'd like to have a meeting at a place and have the superintendent set it up with the school staff, because you're going to end up at the same place, except you're going to go to a principal who will then feel the need to check back, would be my take on that. And so for efficiency's sake, I think it makes sense. It's just the wording here is interesting because it says contact the superintendent, but then also ensure the visit. The board is supposed to ensure the visit. So it's really the superintendent would probably ensure the visit.
Trustee Benini?
I just want to clarify what the proposed language was. It was instead of, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the document and then the one I, so the proposed language was, we will oh, that's not correct, sorry. Well, the second line was, we will schedule the visit with the principal, I believe. And we will contact the site staff. I don't have the original language that I sent you. But in any case, yeah, I'll let the rest of the board respond. Before I
Trustee
respond further.
Alvaro?
Thank you. Things changed, obviously. When I first came on the board, Bev was on the board, we sort of popped into programs and visited, and usually people were really happy to see us, and we call in advance and say, hey, I'm on my way over, and they say, oh, we're doing testing. We said, okay, we're not coming. Different people, different rules. But I heard what you said, Ms. Love, about it's going to go back to the superintendent anyway. And I agree with that. My only issue with this paragraph really is that the superintendent will schedule periodic visits. So I ran into this past year not being able to go on any of the scheduled dates just because of other conflicts I had. So if I could have said, I really would like to go out to XY program in the next couple of weeks, would you please schedule that and see if anybody else wants to come? That would have, you know, it might have been one more step, but it would have made it possible for me to go out to these programs that I couldn't otherwise, as opposed to these periodic visits, which are great. The board, as many people can come. But as I said, last year, I was unable to go to any of them. And this year I will be able, this coming month, I'll be able to go to one of them, not the other one. So that's just an idea that rather than having the superintendent, or perhaps in addition to having the superintendent schedule periodic visits where everybody goes out and visits, the ability to say, you know, here's when I could go. Would it be possible to set that up?
I think that's exactly how I feel about it. I think it's fine to have the scheduled visits, but I think there also needs to be some kind of a leeway where if we don't want or can't go on a scheduled visit, that exactly what Susan said, we could say, you know, I'd really like to go and visit the program. Is it okay if I go on such and such a date? And it doesn't have to be a major production. We would let you know, certainly, and ask, but I feel like now, and this was not the way it's been in the past. It's like a major production. We have to have escorts and people with us, and in some cases have been told we can't talk to teachers or students, and that's uncomfortable. And I don't like that restriction. I don't mind asking permission at all, but I just feel like that we need to be given a little more leeway and freedom to visit the programs. And I'm going to say again what I said the last time, and that is they want us to come and visit the programs every single time we go visit, whether it's a formal deal with 14,000 people with us, whatever it might be. They say, oh, we're so happy you're here. Please come back anytime. We love to have you. And having said that, I don't understand why it's such a big deal to not be able to go and visit. So that's what I have to say. I don't mind asking permission, but I just think it needs to be a little more flexible than it has to be on these dates. And that's it.
And I will say, as a principal of a school, I would want that communication to go to me directly so that I can handle it. And then any other person that needs to be CC'd and included can be CC'd and included. But as a principal, that's what falls under my role. Because since I'm there on the day-to-day and I know what our schedule is looking like, if we do have testing or something that comes up, I can simply just say, like, oh, this is not a good time. And then it moves on from there. But I think going to the principals directly is what would work best. But Trustee Love?
Before you said that, I was thinking that what Trustee Alvaro was saying and everybody was saying was a doable thing. Sort of there are set times where the board can go to the meetings. And then if you can't make it, just reach out to the superintendent and say, you know, I wasn't able to meet that one. I want to go, or I've been hearing things I'd like to go and visit, and can we make that happen? And so I think it's a yes and on that. On the whether you reach out to the principal or not reach out to the principal, it's just, I feel like things have just generally gone through the superintendent because Chris Strauss has many times said, come visit the schools, want to show you if you're curious. So I don't think there's anything like people don't want people to come. They're just respectful of the time. Like it's disruptive to come, and do the dog and pony show. But I think this is all workable, but going through the superintendent doesn't seem to be a insurmountable ask because the principal, nobody's going there without the principal's buy-in.
Trustee Bonini?
Yeah, I'm not I'm not, I mean, I'm not interested in surprising staff, which seems to be stated as, a concern. I think if the principal knows that we want to come, I feel like that gives enough notice. If over the last 4 years, I had been able to schedule visits as frequently as or ever, more than going to visit the schools a handful of times in 4 years, that's how hard it is to get on a school campus, I would be less inclined to argue about this. But this is too restrictive. And it's not different than the current way that things are in my mind if it says it has to go through the superintendent. I just won't agree to that. That's my position.
Yeah, and I think just for clarification, it's not like that we don't want to include the superintendent. I think she should be CC'd in the communication, but I think that should be done directly with the principals and the folks who are on site. Are there any other comments from the board? Superintendent McGee, did you want to add to the
Yeah,
conversation?
thank you. And thanks for all your discussion. It's important to hear all of your individual points of view and interpretations. To the point of being hard to get on a school campus in the last 4 years. 4 years ago was COVID, so several of those years were COVID restrictions. So I just want to, remind everybody where we've come from. My main purpose, first of all, what Trustee Alvaro suggested is perfectly doable. If you're not able to make one of the scheduled visits and you have a date that you could make or provide the school program leaders with some options for dates, then they can absolutely set that up for you. The reason for the principal, keeping the principal out of the initial conversation is that our principals don't function like a comprehensive school site. Hugo, your job as a principal looks very, very different from what our principals do. Our principals are responsible for multiple sites and locations. If you just look at Heather Logan at the Ann Campbell Center, she oversees the Early Start program, the related services team, the special education early learning classrooms, and our new state preschool programs. And those are all like 4 different schools in a school. The same is true in Corton Community. We've got Canyon Oaks, Hillcrest, and Gateway. And in our special services program, we've got the principal doing, making sure that every classroom is filled. That's what the first part of her day is making sure it's adequately staffed. This is just something I'm not willing to add to a principal's time and decision-making. It doesn't need to be that way. Chris Schaus and Sarah Notch are very approachable. You don't have to contact the superintendent first if you don't want to. You can go straight to them if you have some dates or interest in visiting a school. There's no intention to keep you away from the school programs. My intention is to protect the time and the responsibilities of the principals that we do have, and I'm going to stick to that. I know what they have on their responsibility plate every day, and we run very highly specialized, intensive school sites that are not anything like running a comprehensive school program. So there's really no comparison to the job. And I think that we can definitely address the issue without having to involve the school principals directly. So I would prefer to, we can add a sentence into the governance handbook that says if a board member has dates that they might be able to visit, they can reach out directly to the school program leaders and schedule that. And then we can make that happen. I don't have any problem with that. It's not about me controlling anything. It's about making our conditions for our principals reasonable, and I don't want to add anything to their plate that doesn't need to be added, and this is one of those things. I do feel this is an operational decision. I do operate the schools, and I don't feel that the board can make the rule that they can go ahead and contact the principal when I am recommending a different way that gets you the same result. If the result is you want to be more spontaneous about your visits or make the visits more convenient to your schedule, we can absolutely do that. No problem. I'm just asking that you go through Chris Schaus and Sarah Notch as the school program leaders.
Trustee Benini?
On a related but different point, is it possible, because part of this is what Trustee Gerard raised in terms of us being, watched over, not being told we're not allowed to talk to people. That doesn't allow us to understand what's going on. It actually bolsters this idea of a dog and pony show. Like, I understand, like, again, I'm respectful of the teachers. There hasn't been a time that we've ever, happened, across talking to the teachers where they've ever said, oh, it's terrible when you come, right? We weren't prepared, or, you know what I mean? I feel like that is a huge component of this. It is the scheduling, it is the restrictions, but it's also us feeling as though we aren't welcome there, and not from the school staff, but from this vantage point.
Well, again, our school sites are unique settings, so I'm not sure, it would be okay to just walk unescorted around Hillcrest, for instance. You probably need the principal with you, or someone with you just to help you navigate your way or read like the room kind of thing. Again, there's no intention to make the board feel the way you're expressing. So we can dial down, the support that you have. I'm not sure that board members in districts go walking unescorted or unaccompanied in the districts, but maybe that is the case. But again, it helps to have someone with you who can understand circumstances and explain things and help navigate. But if what you're saying is you want to come on campus and be alone and walk wherever you wish and go where you wish, I'm not sure that's super helpful for you, but we can discuss it. I can discuss it with my team. There are safety concerns. We have a very unique population of students. So there's a lot to take into consideration. I hear you, and let's change the way you feel. Let's make this better so that you don't feel inhibited. And I think we can work that out simply by trying different things, right? So let's try a less formal visit. Let's see, we can get you one escort, hopefully the principal or somebody who knows what's happening. just to ensure your safety and getting to the best places on that particular day to see. Our campuses are so very small to begin with, so it's at Gateway, you know, you don't probably necessarily need an escort. It's so small, you're visible wherever you are. But let's make it better. I just am not going to agree to direct communication with the principal in this case.
Trustee Benini?
I just wanted to clarify, at no point did I say I wanted to walk around the campus by myself. I asked that we could contact the principal, and that would have been inherent that the principal would be the one, or a designee of the principal would be the one taking us around. So that was not something that we requested, just to clarify.
Okay, thank you.
Bethany?
I just wanted to ask a clarifying question. I believe that the superintendent proposed that the board could reach out to Chris Schaus and Sarah Notch. Is that correct? To schedule a visit to the school?
Yes.
Would Chris Schaus or Sarah Notch have to in turn then reach out to the principal, or who would they reach out to coordinate that visit?
Yeah, of course, they communicate with the principal.
Got it. I'm just a little bit confused as for why the board can't directly reach out to the principal, because it seems like the principal will be receiving communication about the visit to the schools anyway.
Because the school program leaders can communicate with the principal at a time when they're available emotionally, mentally to think about and check their schedule. I don't want the principals having to stop in the middle of whatever they're doing and address questions from the board. Our principals are pulled in many directions. I don't know if you guys are hearing me, but it is a very hard job. And I do not believe that they need to add this to their plate. Seems like a very easy fix for you guys to reach out to the school program leaders. Let us know what dates you need, and we can get back to you within a day or two to confirm.
Bethany?
I just want to clarify that I really do respect all the work our principals and our educators in general do. They are so busy all the time. They have so many responsibilities, and that's something I 100% agree with. But as for the board directly reaching out to the principals, I feel like either way, the principals are going to be receiving communication about these school board visits. So I just feel like if the board directly reached out to the principals, that could be a way of streamlining the process. So it's not like the board reaches out to this person, then this person reaches out to the principal. I just think that the board directly reaching out to the principals could make it more efficient. And I do want to highlight, though, I don't think that the principal should have to drop everything just to deal with a request from a board member. I think that they're absolutely entitled to respond whenever they're free and whenever they have that time.
Yeah, especially if they're at multiple sites, they know their schedule better than ours. And if it's a day we want to go to a certain school and they're not there, they can simply just say, hey, I'm not there at this time. Can we reschedule? But Trustee Gerard?
I just wanted to make a comment about the last scheduled visit that I went on, and Chris Schaus was the one that took us on that visit. And quite frankly, it was a very pleasant visit. It was very different than any of the previous visits. I know that it was myself and ex-board member Cannon. Were you on that? There were three of us, and she did a great job. It was very relaxed, and I appreciated that. And we visited all three campuses. So, well, three of the campuses. I won't say all three because there's more than that. But I just wanted to say that I really enjoyed that visit. So,
Well, that's what we
I
would
just
be
wanted you to
aiming
know that.
for. That's what we're aiming for here, is to adopt that climate And I'm fully on board with that. I am asking the board to accept the communication route that I am describing.
Trustee Lev?
I think that's a perfect example of why having it done by Sarah Notch or Kershaus or someone else makes sense, because it's multi-site, different principals possibly. That would be a lot for them to try to come together. Now let's plan something. When are you free? When? I think for the sake of ease, it really is easier just to have a central administrator plan those things out.
Trustee Benini?
What I would say about multiple sites, I know there are multiple sites. I would never personally plan a visit or go to multiple sites. So if I were trying to arrange to go visit, I would ask to go to a certain school, and it would be incumbent, on the principal to kind of navigate that. I feel like when we, again, with like the streamlining, and it's whenever we ask a question about, well, what's going on, the only person who really knows what's going on at the site is the principal. And so it's even I don't believe that Chris and Sarah are on the sites all the time. And so I feel like it's just another step. We wouldn't be, I personally probably wouldn't be making a phone call, although I do make phone calls. I would probably be emailing, and I would be more than happy to email and CC, but I would like the recipient to be the person who would be most knowledgeable about the visiting time and parameters. So that's,
Well, we can definitely have the principal be the escort at the school when you visit. I mean, there's no problem. Assuming that your time and date line up with the principal being there. That would be the goal, would be to find a time that the principal's available and have the principal escort you around the school and talk about their program. That is fine. I'm just asking that the initial outreach goes to Chris and Sarah.
Thank you for that, but that wasn't the topic of my comment. My comment really was the communication path.
Well, I'm giving you my answer. I'm not willing to compromise on that. I'm willing to make this better and improve the visits, which I think is the general goal of this discussion. The how should be left up to the superintendent.
Trustee Lev?
Well, why don't we see how this works? I don't know if people felt that they could reach out to Chris or to the superintendent and say, hey, I'd like to come to Gateway Friday afternoon. Would that work? So now that we know that is an option, that we try this and see if it's meeting the needs of the board. And since we're going to work on self-evaluation more and discussing things in a few months or a year, we can say that didn't really get at what we were trying to get at, or it was successful, or we tweak it from there. But again, on the operations side, we can't really dictate who we reach out to. That's really the superintendent's role. So I think we are in a good place, and we can see how this works, in my opinion.
Trustee Alvaro?
Can somebody, I am not volunteering, take a pass at amending the last paragraph in the, I think it's the very last paragraph in the handbook, yeah. Or maybe not amending it, but adding just another couple of sentences to reflect what we just got done discussing. So that
I'm happy to do that, Trustee Alvaro.
Okay, and then we'll take another look at it. So the idea is scheduling periodic visits to all the school programs. That's great. And we also have the option of trying, and again, if I say, here's a couple of dates I can make it in March, can something get set up? Then the invitation to go out to others on the board to to join us is fine with me. But as opposed to saying, here's the date and can you come?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I think if possible, if we could get input from the principals themselves as to what would be easier for them, I think that would help also guide our decisions and our processes and what we're trying out. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, then I think getting their input would be very helpful.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? Are there any comments from the public?
No comments?
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the draft board governance handbook?
Well, as there's an amendment to it, so.
I was just going to say as amended.
Is there a motion to approve the draft board governance handbook as amended?
Do we want to just table it and have a look at it next time and say, okay, there's the amendment?
Bethany?
Do we have any like specific language for the amendment yet, or is it just like we know what we want to edit?
We don't have language yet.
My opinion is that it'd be great to see the language and then we could vote and discuss.
Yes. So do we want to table this for our next board meeting?
Okay. Do we need a motion for that or?
I think so.
I think you
Or
can
no?
just opt not to make a motion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. There is no motion to take on this item. For item 9D, Superintendent McGee will provide information on board member required trainings. Superintendent McGee?
Yes, thank you. At a recent superintendent's meeting with county attorneys, they reviewed required board member trainings. We have been following the ethics training with the board, so it's articulated there in the board packet how frequently the board would need to update their ethics training. What I was not aware of is the requirement for sexual harassment. And I just wanted to bring it forward that I think most of the board members would need to complete this training, and we can do it through our online training platform, which is called Vector Solutions. We can make sure that each board member has a login into Vector Solutions. You can go straight to the online training. I believe it's a 2-hour
That's what
training.
it says.
And then the system itself keeps track of when you successfully completed the training. So it's also an automatic recording, documenting solution also. So just wanted to bring it forward in case board members had questions. But if you're okay, we'll just get you all live on the Vector Solutions with the assignment of the sexual harassment training, and then you'll have probably a couple of months to get it completed. And once you've completed it, then I don't remember what the frequency is. Is it annual or is it or is
Every
it
2 years.
every
It
2
says
years?
every 2
Yeah.
years.
So we would just track it from our point of view and remind you when your training dates were coming up.
Trustee Benini?
My question has to do with those of us who have multiple other trainings under our belt already, whether it's for school site or other things. I believe I've already completed the Vector training for sexual harassment.
Yeah,
specifically.
I meant to double check with Attorney Cho on what can be, included, but it
Tammy Moore has a comment.
Who?
Hi, Superintendent McGee. This is Tammy Moore. Just
Oh, okay.
confirming that we actually can, if you have completed the same training through Vector Solutions, you can send it to HR and we can manually record that you've done it as long as it is within the last 2 years.
Trustee Alvaro, thank you.
Thank you for that. I just had a question about the ethics one. And this may be, well, Ms. Moore, you may have the answer. It says it has to be done at least once before January 1st of 26 and every 2 years thereafter. So my question is, every 2 years after January of 26 or every 2 years after you take the thing?
So I believe this went into place last year, which would be 2024. So if everyone did it within that last year, then you are caught up and you don't need to do it again until 2026, which is when that new timing comes to be. But essentially, everyone has to get caught up before 2026.
So every 2 years from when I took it.
Which last year was the first year we assigned it to board members.
Yeah, and I sent you the certificate then. Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions? Are there any comments from the public?
No comments from the public.
And there is no action to take on this item. Thank you, Tammy Moore. For item 9E, on November 20th, 2024, the board nominated Beverly Gerard to serve as the 2025 through 2027 Region 5 California School Boards Association County Delegate Representative. The board now has the opportunity to cast its ballot for Board Member Gerard. Are there any comments or questions from the board? Are there any comments from the public? Is there,
No comments.
thank you. Is there a motion to elect Beverly Gerard to serve as the 2025 through 2027 Region 5 CSBA County Delegate Representative?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
There is a motion to elect Beverly Gerard to serve as the 2025 through 2027 Region 5 CSBA County Delegate Representative made by Trustee Love and a second by Trustee Alvaro. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The motion passes with a vote of 5-0, and the board has approved Beverly Gerard to serve as the 2025 through 2027 Region 5 CSBA County Delegate Representative. Congrats. For item 9F, the board now has the opportunity to cast its ballot for the California School Boards Association CSBA Region 5 Delegate Assembly. Are there any comments or questions from the board? Are there any comments from the public?
No comments.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is this for the,
Uh,
all the
We
other,
have to vote.
on the other candidates?
Yes. I
That's
think
what
our
I thought.
motion has to include our vote.
Yeah, the other names.
Yes.
Ah,
Greg Land, Andrew Lee, and Francesca Segre.
Do you want to restate your motion?
Yes. Do you have the names in front of you? I saw them somewhere.
I think, didn't Chelsea just name them?
Yeah, I'll make the motion. I move that we vote for the Subregion 5B Delegate Assembly candidates, Gregory Land, Andrew Lee, and Francesca Segre. And there are 3 votes and there are 3 candidates, and I would support all 3 of them.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
There is a motion to approve Subregion 5B for San Mateo made by Trustee Benini and a second by Trustee Gerard. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The motion passes with a vote of 5-0, and the board has voted to approve the Subregion 5B candidates. For item 9G, is there a motion to approve resolution number 25-12, implementing board policy 9250 to compensate Susan Alvaro for her absence from the February 5th, 2025 board meeting due to illness?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion to approve resolution number 25-12 made by trustee Benini and a second by trustee Love. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
I need to recuse myself.
Yes, and recused. Thank you. The motion passes with a vote of 4. And the resolution number 25-12 has been approved. For item 9H, when an ad hoc subcommittee meets or a representative attends a meeting related to their given assignment, board members may choose to bring a report to the board at this time. Would any board members like to report out?
No.
Are there any comments or questions from the board? Any from the public?
No comments?
Thank you. There is no action to take on this item. For item 9I, the board will discuss topics for future board agendas. Would any board members like to discuss agenda ideas? Bethany?
March is Women's History Month, so I was wondering if you all would be interested in presenting a resolution to recognize that.
Yes, I
Okay.
think. I'm seeing a consensus. Yeah.
Okay, sounds
Thank
good.
you. Trustee Love?
Yes, I was wondering if we could get an update on how all the things that are coming out of Washington right now are impacting the school districts in the county, the policies, the rhetoric, the actions, et cetera. Thanks.
Thank you. Trustee Benini?
I would like to, at some point this spring, add to our agenda an item where we will talk about the process for the policy for student board trustees to request to be appointed. And I would like to bring that forth with trustee Zhao.
Yes, thank you.
Liaison.
With trustee who?
With liaison Zhao.
With Bethany?
With Bethany.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yes. Thank you.
I would love to hear more about the PBIS team that Superintendent McGee mentioned, and I'd love to, just get to know like more of what they're working on and seeing how it's being implemented in schools, and if they have any data. I think it's huge recognition when they get chosen to lead Region 5, because I know they will. Any other topics or ideas? There is no action to take on this item. For item 9J, board members will comment. Trustee Alvaro?
Okay, thank you. First of all, I'm really excited that 9 people chose to throw their hats in the ring for the board vacancy. That is wonderful, and I want to thank every single one of them for coming forward and offering to help. Happy birthday, Marco. I know it's tomorrow, and he's down. I'm sure he's working very hard, but at this hour, probably he's relaxing. So happy birthday, Marco. Just a quick sidebar, I should have mentioned it earlier, but the ethics training, if it's available in the future through someone other than CSBA, that would be really wonderful. Because I sat through 2 hours of that and could have taught everything that they did. And I mean, that's fine. There's new people, but it wasn't a valuable use of my time. On another topic, Amy Wooliver is retiring after 14 years as the La Junta Pescadero Unified Superintendent. And more than 20 years before that, I think I got it right, she's been a teacher, she's been a principal, she's been an educator. and she rocks. I've watched that district and worked closely with that district from long before Amy was superintendent. And I know what she's accomplished, and she's amazing, and she deserves a rest. I sent her an email and said, yes, I get it, but I will really miss her in that role. And perhaps we could do a resolution toward the end of the school year. She's staying on board till the end of the year. And then just finally, I hope that you're improving, Nancy.
Yep.
And Chris, I hope the PT is going well, because I know that you're having to go through PT. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Benini?
I just wanted to, again, thank Hector for his service on our board. And I'm looking forward to meeting and chatting with the candidates for filling that seat at the next meeting. And that's really exciting. And again, I'm also, I'm excited that we had so many candidates put their hat in the ring. I think that is, shows, how important this role is. And really, it's really, really great that we had so many candidates. So thank you to each one.
Thank you. Bethany?
So earlier this month, I attended the California Civic Learning Summit, and I was a part of the group facilitating that. I just want to share that I was really happy to be a part of that. It was an amazing experience. There were about 40 students from all over California participating in the youth portion of the event. And it was just so great to see not only their ideas, but also their passion. So I just had a really great time with that. And also, thank you all for approving the resolution on Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. I was really happy to see that. And I do have a few questions. I was wondering what time the interviews for the board position will be, and if I'm allowed to attend.
Yes, you will also be participating and asking the questions if you're here, and that's March 5th, correct?
Okay, got it. Do you know if they're in the afternoon or morning or?
Oh, it's during our regular board meeting.
Got it. Okay, that
Yeah.
makes sense. All right, cool. Thank you.
Trustee Love?
Thank you. I just wanted to thank Superintendent McGee for helping get our subcommittees moving. Appreciate that. It was wonderful to celebrate former trustee Camacho, now executive director. It's great to have him back here. And I also love the idea, Trustee Bonini, of taking on like the youth trustee and seeing if we can figure out somebody from our program maybe to participate. So, thanks.
Thank you. Vice President Gerard?
Thank you. I also want to say happy birthday to Marco, even though he's not here. But I hope he will enjoy his birthday tomorrow, and that everybody else down there will spoil him just a little bit. And I want to piggyback on Trustee Alvaro's comment on our applicants. It was very exciting to see 9 people apply. And thank you all for doing that. We really, really appreciate it. And it's wonderful to know that many people are interested in our kids and what the county board does. I want to say that I attended the Summit for Partnerships in Education last Thursday, and I was there all day. And when I got off the elevator at 9 o'clock in the morning, guess whose smiling face was right there? And that was Mr. Hector Camacho. So it was a wonderful event. I also attended Mary McGrath's session, and everyone did an amazing job. It was really on mental health and what's available in our county for not only our students, but everyone. And it was very eye-opening. And there was also a lot of ethnicity there with entertainment and a lot of really interesting things. and information provided. I was so happy I went. It was pouring down rain that day, but it was worth getting out in it and attending. I'm also, I was telling Bethany that I'm going to be seeing her in Oceana next month because I did volunteer to be one of the reviewers for the senior projects. So I'm really looking forward to that as well. And I had requested at one of the previous meetings to get some information on reading in schools, and I was invited by Pacifica to come and read in some of their schools. So, I mean, excuse me, Bayshore. And so I'm very excited about going and getting to read in, I guess, from what it sounds like, more than one class in Bayshore. So that will be happening very soon. And it was wonderful to celebrate Hector. He's just an amazing person. And I don't think anybody can say enough. And I will be attending the PTA Founders Day luncheon. I think it's next week. And guess who they're honoring? Mr. Hector Camacho. So I'm looking forward to that as well. And I've been very, very busy with the ACCBE. I won't even go into all the Zoom meetings and everything we've had for that. So thank you.
Thank you. I just want to acknowledge a lot of the work that has been done and that we're continuing to do. One with like screening the applicants and getting that to us. So thank you to Superintendent McGee, Jennifer Perna, and the county office for vetting everyone and making sure we received everything. And then also echoing what Trustee Love said about getting the ball rolling on the subcommittee list. Superintendent McGee, that list was very helpful. I made sure to print it and have that ready. So I'm excited to get the ball rolling on that. And then I also want to acknowledge the work that we did with our handbook today and just know that we, we're trying to find a consensus and that sometimes is we have different views, but working together to come up with a solution is what we're doing for our kiddos and for our collaborative. So I just want to acknowledge the work there. And that's all I have. For item 10, it's the adjournment. So the next regular meeting will take place on Wednesday, March 5th, 2025 at 7 p.m. And this meeting is now adjourned.
I hope you're feeling better soon, Nancy.
Thank you. Feeling pretty good. Just have to watch out who I put myself in the company of as far as
No,
germs
and
go.
there's lots of bugs going around, so stay
Yeah.
safe.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.